So what will happen to Stephan Stearns in prison? So to give you a little rundown about this piece of shit, on February 26, 2024, his stepdaughter, Madeline Soto, was missing. He was the last one to be with her, where he supposedly dropped her off at school, all on video, yet that never happened. March 1st, unfortunately, they would find the body of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Not only did Stearns leave a trail of evidence from internet searches, security footage that almost looks like Madeline is lying dead in the car as he has her propped up when he goes to dispose of the body, as well as 60 counts of child porn in his laptop. They arrested him for sexual battery as one of the videos had linked him to sexual battery on Madeline. And if that wasn't enough, the mother enabled this creature, this piece of shit, vile, demonic coward, to hurt her daughter. She would let this man sleep in the bed with her alone. Something was off with Madeline. Her friends know it. Everyone was noticing it. She tried to talk to multiple people, teachers, and nobody gave a fuck. But yet again, now they give a fuck. It took the loss of a 13-year-old girl for them to do anything. They rented out a house where there was multiple tenants there, living in rooms of the house, and they all thought there was some creep shit going on. They tried to report it, nothing. This dude, Stephan, he was kicked out of his friend's house because he got caught watching child porn. How come that guy never said anything? How come he never spoke up? You just kicked him out the house thinking you're just going to kick a fucking chomo out the house and everything will be okay. You feel better about your conscience? Now you're supposed to yoke his ass up, throw him in the trunk, and take him to the police station immediately. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then the mother goes on interview saying, that she thinks that this whole time they were in love and that Stephan was really just grooming her daughter. What the fuck? So they link everything together and he's facing the death penalty for the murder, for the sexual battery, for all the horrendous child porn, everything. This dude is a fucking chomo coward to the core. This happened in a town about 2 hours from where I live. Orange County, Kissimmee. I know that area well. And they're very close-knit over there. It's a very close law enforcement prison town. And when I was in some of the prisons in those areas, the corrections officers not only hated motherfuckers like him, but if you were from that area and you hurt one of their kids, as they would call it, even if it wasn't any kid related to any law enforcement, they said, that's our kid. And they would torture him. They would put him in protective custody where it was almost worse because he was isolated, which allowed the officers to have accidents, open the door, throw him on his face while he showers. And whatever an inmate wanted to sneak back there, whether it was a razor blade or shit in a bottle, or they just accidentally opened the door and an inmate got in there and stabbed him, it happened. Or they let the wrong inmates out at the wrong time and he gets stabbed, sliced, cut up. It would happen all the time to these chomo, rapist, pedophile piece of shits. I saw it the most though in like Lake Butler, Orlando, all that area, Kissimmee, all those prisons out there. It's a very law enforcement, close-knit town. And when someone does this to somebody from that area and it makes this type of media, they always seem to get sent to a prison in that region 2, that central area of Florida. And in the beginning, he's facing the death penalty. So they have to make sure he goes to court because there's too much media. Now, they'll torture you in jail and fuck with your food and put you in isolation, not give you any food, poison you, don't give you any toilet paper, turn off the air conditioning in your cell because in county jail, they usually have AC, have you lose weight, just constantly fucking with you, fuck with your commissary, everything. You're just going to be in isolation cells, suicide cells, because he's not just a regular chomo that will get hit up normally in these situations. This is one that they take pride in torturing. This is one that they want to get a life sentence or a death sentence to. So they know the convicts are going to have their way with him. But until then, the prosecutor wants to get that good mark on their record. The detectives want to get that as a closed conviction. So the sheriffs in the county jail start with the slow torture. And they usually get it from the detectives. They say, listen, we think he did more, or just fuck with him, make him break, make him confess. They want that guaranteed conviction. So they isolate him. And it's not just regular like DC disciplinary confinement time. It's isolation time where they have your light on 24/7. They wake you up every 15 minutes. They'll throw the heaters on in your cell in the middle of the summer. They won't feed you for days. They'll forget to shower, ice cold showers, throw you in an ice cold butt naked cell, saying they have to do a search and keep you in that shower for 4 to 6 hours, just trying to break you constantly, feeding you food with shit, piss, hair on it. And that's the only food you're gonna get for the rest of the day because you're not getting any canteen because now you're on suicide watch. And a lot of times people will see what they're writing to their families in emails or stuff like that. You have to understand, nothing is as it appears in prison. You have a case that's that deep about a mom and a father that were grooming and using and doing all types of horrendous shit to their daughter. And then they felt they could just kill that little girl and throw her like trash in that town and think that they would just get a regular day and go about their business. Nah, not there, not anywhere, but especially not there. He's gonna be mentally, physically exhausted by the time he goes to trial or takes his plea. He's gonna be like 100 pounds soaking wet. They want him to get to tell on the mom who has to go to prison. She has to. I don't even understand how she's out right now with any chance. She could get pregnant and have a baby right now. Isn't that fucking crazy that there's people walking around that see their kids maybe once or twice a week and they're just good parents. They just had a bad relationship with their son's father or mother. In a custody battle, they split weeks. And this lady is knowingly bringing a sex offender chomo around her daughter, sleeping in the bed with her daughter, ultimately gets murdered and admits she thinks now that he was grooming her the whole time, knows about the child porn, knew about all that weird shit, and she's free, able to have a kid again. They're gonna break Stephan until he finally tells on her. They're both gonna go to jail, testify on each other. He's gonna be looking sick because they inject you with stuff. And whether people believe this or not, you see a lot of guys that die of like, kidney disease or this cancer, that cancer. And a lot of times they go to give you a tuberculosis shot and they shoot you up with hepatitis. This is coming from the medical. This isn't a game. They want you frail. They want you weak. They want you hungry, tired, dying, not healthy, not eating, not strong, not bathing, just sick. Then you might take a plea. You just do anything because you're so weak-minded. Then you go to prison. And that's where you enter the reception centers. And you have to go through Lake Butler. You have to go through some type of medical. You have to go through Central Florida. And he most likely won't make it out of Central Florida. Whether he kills himself, which happens all the time, he dies of some weird disease, he has an accidental overdose, or someone just gets their hands on him and kills him. They break you down until you're nothing in there. When you hurt kids, especially, or you're rapist, pedophile, chomo, and they see that it's gonna be a long time before anybody could get their hands on you, well, time doesn't exist, only opportunity. And they'll push you to an accidental suicide, an accidental overdose, an accidental heart attack, whatever, seizure, whatever you wanna call it. They'll put whatever substance they want in your food, in your water, so that when you do get hit up, they say, oh, he had an overdose. Oh, he was on that shit. You see it all the time. Like when I covered that dude from Alabama, who had all those drugs in his system. Maybe he was on that. Maybe he owed a debt. Who knows? However, a lot of times when somebody knows too much or did too much wrong, they'll put drugs in your food, drugs in your body, and plan a hit. Like, yo, this is the motherfucker that did the most horrendous shit in my town to this little girl that my wife used to teach back when she was 13, and he needs to go. Can't look at him. I used to mentor the daughter when I used to go to my wife's class when she was a teacher. It's those small town politics that get people gone. And all prisons are out there in Kissimmee, Orange County, OCI, you got Charlotte, Butler. And it starts with the torture in the county jail where they're looking sick, skinny, and frail. Then in prison, they're so disoriented. They might get a tuberculosis shot and that shit might be hepatitis. Who the fuck knows what it is? He goes to eat his tray. There's some substance in there that he'll test positive for. He opens that cell and something happens to him. They blame it on the substance. They blame it on the disease. It's never as it appears in prison. Dude can have 40,000 stab wounds and they'll say it's natural cause. Stay out, stay free.